What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is Blood Phantom 81. So in this video I'm going to be doing a stock market recap and update video. If you guys missed these videos, because I generally tend to make them maybe once a month, feel free to check out my Patreon in the pinned comment below, or if you want to support the channel, you can also do that as well. I basically post weekly updates there. So as I mentioned, we're doing a stock market recap, and I want to share a couple lessons I learned. Biggest one is that I was way too over diversified. So by the time that the market pulled back these past couple months, I definitely wasn't prepared for it. I had lost track of all the different buckets that I had been putting money in. And so as a result, I got hit probably harder than I should have been. And so even though I started taking profits sort of as we kept on climbing higher and higher, and if you guys remember from my last video, I actually talked about being a little bit more aggressive with the profit taken. The problem was that I would take those profits and then reinvest them into stocks I considered undervalued at the time. And when the whole market sort of pulled back, even those stocks pulled back. So it really, sorry, I have like an allergy right now. So it really wasn't even like, you know, I had taken profit at all. So yeah, that's one thing. Probably mess with my gains a little bit more, even though my strategy was good as far as actually timing the market. So that's the first lesson I want to share. And then the second is that I'm basically going to be going back to my roots of technical analysis for the vast majority of my holdings. I'm pretty sure that I probably started getting closer to like 35% of my portfolio being influenced by fundamental analysis decisions, but I've cut back on that a lot. And so price action has to look good in order for me to want to get in again. And so, yeah, basically, these are just lessons. I'm just trying to be more ruthless. I think I just got a little bit too sloppy with everything as far as, wanting to be a long term investor and a swing trader at the same time. It's just not who I am. So I'm going back to my roots, basically. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the NASDAQ really quickly because a lot has happened since September. So if you guys remember from my past recap, I talked about taking profits here, being a little bit more aggressive with the profit taking. As I said, though, I would take those profits and then reinvest them in something else. So I wasn't really profit taking at all. Um, and so we had essentially like three waves down of a pullback. And then what's funny is that we found support basically a few percentage below the 100-day moving average, which you can find here. And so as of now, we made a pretty swift recovery. Now we're consolidating above the 50-day moving average. And to be honest, I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction right here that I think we may consolidate above the 50. Maybe even go a little bit below it, and then maybe do one of these, and then attempt at a higher high, maybe a pullback, and then I think we're gonna have another rally. And to be honest, I'm expecting Nasdaq to hit, or sorry, QQQ to hit about 400, whether it's this year or early next year. It's just shaping up to be kind of a bullish predicament that we're in, and part of the reason is because we take a look at the S&P 500, which is actually stronger than the Nasdaq, and that happens sometimes. The S&P actually made a all-time high intraday yesterday on Friday, and so the S&P 500 I put in this sort of bottoming pattern, and now recaptured the 50-day, and then went all the way to reclaim all-time highs. And so if I'm expecting the S&P to pull back a little bit, which I wouldn't be surprised, I could see one of these, and then same thing. I think that the markets look like they want to, attempt another rally. And so really the question is, how many more of these rallies are we going to have until we have a considerable pullback? Fortunately, stock markets, or I should say markets, tend to go up over the long term. And so it's less about trying to find when to sell. It's more about trying to find times when to buy. And so you generally want to be more long than mostly in cash, in my opinion. But anyway, so yeah, so as I mentioned, I'm expecting a rally on the major indices, maybe after some consolidation. And then, so let's take a look at a shorter term time frame. So you guys know my favorite short-term moving average is actually the 200 period moving average on the 1 hour time frame for QQQ. And so we have actually recaptured it. So this spot had acted as support around this time, had acted as resistance around this time. When we try to retest it, got rejected. Usually we have gnarly reactions when we can't reclaim this moving average, but we actually reclaimed it pretty quickly and pretty easily. And so, as I said, if we pull back, maybe we retest this moving average. That's totally possible. So we can do that. But I do think that the market is going to make all-time highs, and by the market I mean the Nasdaq, because obviously the S&P has already put in all-time highs. Not to mention the Dow Jones has also already put in all-time highs intraday. And so with the Dow Jones, we basically just consolidated above the 200-day moving average. Again, put in like a nice bottoming pattern, pretty similar to what happened here in August of 2020. And so, this looks pretty bullish. Again, like because we have this area of support right here, as you guys can see, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dow Jones comes back and retests one of these and then, struggles at all-time highs and then eventually rallies. So that's what I'm expecting. And I want to talk about my account for a bit because, just some updates about it. So I do think I can hit 500K maybe this year or early next year. And I want to give an update on the house situation. So fortunately, things are progressing very nicely. If you guys have missed my videos, basically I'm in the process of closing on my very first house and things are going well. I have taken some money out for a down payment, but still I think the best part of my strategy, which is live in then rent, means that obviously I don't have to put 20% down payment on the property, which means that in future purchases, it's possible that I may not even have to take out that much money from my investment accounts. If I can just save up sort of throughout the months and throughout the years, maybe do some house hacking to lower my living expenses, etc. So things I can do to basically make sure that this portfolio can stay growing, and so I don't have to, keep taking money out. And obviously, because I tend to grow this account relatively quickly, any money that I have in it right now today is actually worth a lot, right? It's worth a lot because, in 12 months or 16 months or 24 months from now, that money could be worth a lot more than any other vehicle that I can think of right now. And so that's why I take a lot of care of this. I take this very seriously because, taking out $40,000 means a lot. It means a lot over the next year or two, right? So that's how I'm feeling right now. Now, what's the other reason why I feel like I can hit 500K by the end of this year or early next year? And let's go ahead and take a look at crypto, which has been very, very exciting lately. So I had been basically anticipating this breakout, and it looks like we're starting to get it. Now, obviously, Ethereum did pull back a little bit after breaking out, and that's totally okay, right? Because after really large breakouts, it's totally common to have some kind of retest, and that's exactly what we're having. Ethereum basically put in a very clear breakout, and then intraday we actually hit all the way up to about 43.66, and then we're pulling back to this breakout area, right? And so we could obviously expect to see some more consolidation. It really doesn't matter because the point is that, in my opinion, this breakout is clear as day. It's just in the early innings, and so when we do break out about 4,400, 4,500, I think it's going to be off to the races. And so you take a look at how big this consolidation period is, because as you can see, like this has lasted, since May 2021, which isn't actually that much time. But when you take into account just how massive this consolidation is, and by massive, I mean like the size of it, like let's take a look at the center point, right? So that's about 137% worth of price action from the low to the high, right? And so I'm not saying we're going to get 137% of a breakout, but it puts things in perspective, right? Like, wouldn't be surprised if like there's another, 70% to go in this rally in Ethereum, right? And so obviously if Ethereum has another really big run, well, we obviously know what that means for Bitcoin. By Bitcoin, I mean like, well, obviously Bitcoin's kind of doing its own thing, right? Like it's a leader. It doesn't need permission from any other coins to rally, right? But obviously, like Bitcoin making a new all-time high is fantastic, fantastic news for the crypto market, right? And all markets work very similarly, which is, I reference the S&P 500 making all-time highs as a sign that I think the Nasdaq's going to make all-time highs, because making higher highs, making all-time highs is generally very, very good for markets. It shows strength, right? A lot of people get scared at all-time highs. They're like, oh no, the market's at all-time highs. I can't buy anymore, or it might crash soon. On the contrary, it shows strength, right? It shows buyer demand. And so we're going to have to respect that until that changes. And so Bitcoin making all-time highs is fantastic for the overall market. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple other coins that I'm also buying and that I like. So Ethereum Classic. So I mentioned that I really like the technical pattern on Ethereum Classic. I was a little bit surprised that we broke the 200-day moving average, but also the rest of the crypto market also sort of pulled back a little bit around this time in September. But in any case, Ethereum has just been putting in higher highs and higher lows, and so I think when we recapture the 200-day moving average, it'll show a pretty nice boost in buyer confidence. And so the reason why I'm talking about this is because if Ethereum starts to break out, I can absolutely see Ethereum Classic start to break out as well. Now, unfortunately, Ethereum Classic is probably one of the weaker ones out of the alts that I have. I do also own Litecoin, which looks much better. So Litecoin has already broken above its 200-day moving average. Now we're retesting it. And so this looks really strong, in my opinion, stronger than Ethereum Classic, especially if you think about this for a second. We have like this area of support that we're on, obviously the 200-day moving average, as I mentioned. And so it looks like a pretty nice bottoming pattern, if I'm being honest. And so once we break out this high, which is about 230, I can definitely see us making all-time highs pretty promptly after that. And of course, I also own Bitcoin Cash, which hasn't looked as good as, let's say, something like Litecoin. But similar to Ethereum Classic, I think a lot of the sentiment's going to shift when we do break the 200-day moving average. I definitely do think it's important for us to break above this. I think like below or above sort of gives that buyer confidence. Like, for example, the trend really didn't start to take off here in late 2020 until we actually recaptured this, used it as support, and sort of went off to the races. I think like even here, for example, when we did break out above it, it sort of gave more confidence here. And so as of now, we've basically been consolidating right below it, right? So like basically this time period here in September, this time period here in October. But once again, looking for that recapture so that this one can also go off to the races. We know how quick Bitcoin Cash can move once it actually starts to run. For example, March 2021 all the way to April 16th. That's about what, 157%, right? So it can easily double in like a month or two if it wants to. And so, yeah. So that's actually where I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Basically, everything's good. Things are good. I'm very excited to hit 500,000. Again, I don't know if it's going to be this year or early next, but I'm confident. I'm confident. The house is going well. I think the market's set to run. And so, yeah, be grateful for these moments when everything is going well. I'll catch you guys in the next video.